to ask you, when you talk about peer-reviewed studies, I don't know if the layperson understands the significance of that, and it's a mouthful. So would you go into a little bit of depth about peer-reviewed studies, and most notably, the Skidmore study?
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on the science, although it's really important. This is how I refer to the science. And this is what I would encourage all of you that are on this call or know people that might be looking to adopt a healthier lifestyle for themselves or their loved ones, is at the very basic foundation, the core of what a healthy lifestyle option is available to you is to make sure that they have a foundation of peer-reviewed, published research studies on their system or on their products, because without it, it's a house of cards. And I know, as you know, when we were young kids, or maybe at holidays like Thanksgiving or some other holidays, you build a deck of cards and you make a little structure of them. But you can basically just tap it or blow, a little bit of a breath completely collapses it. And that's pretty common. And it's a great analogy to what many other so-called health and wellness companies and products are doing right now. They're building this very, very high tower of really good-looking results and testimonials and stories behind their products, but they have nothing to stand on. They have no foundation from which to build that house of cards. And so, again, a little bit of a disruption completely topples it. And I can say in front of all of you tonight that the most important thing that you want to make sure happens as the foundation of you venturing down a path of optimal health and wellness is that the source from which you're gathering your information from, or gathering these healthy lifestyle strategies to follow to improve your health, are built on a foundation. You don't need to know the science, just know that they're built on a foundation of peer reviewed. And what that means is the research has been conducted outside of the confines of the company itself or the institution. Other people have tested it that are independent from the company itself. So that's called third party. That means you have third party and they're scientists that conduct these studies. They're doing this research from academic research universities, such as where I've been for 35 years. And they're conducting this research without any influence or contamination from the company itself. You don't want to have that. You need to make sure that you have complete objectivity. There's no influence from the company itself. And that's the only way we are allowed to conduct research in the university setting. You have to be independent from the funding source. It would be no different. I have funding from the National Institute of Health. Where I'm at right now, Pittsburgh, millions of dollars from the Department of Defense. There's public-private institutions that are always publishing research. There's no difference between those, by the way. What matters most is that the scientists that are conducting the research are independent from those sources of funding so that they can do their job of conducting the studies. That's step number one. Number two is after they've collected the data and experimented on the test subjects, they have to send it to a research journal, a scientific medical research journal that has a board of independent scientific experts from around the world, which again, you have no influence over. You just send your data and the findings from the data to the academic journal. Those experts read it over and first do a first pass on whether or not the research is even worthy of going out to other independent scientists. So the journal itself, the scientific medical journal, I'll give you an example, Nature or New England Journal of Medicine or Science, Lancet, those are all the top 4 scientific medical journals in the world. And so when scientists like myself conduct a study, they send it to those journals. The editors have the first decision. And in most cases, just so that everyone knows this, the editors squash it. They say, no, it's just not good enough to send it. We don't want to waste these experts' time in reviewing this. That's the first pass of a scientific peer-reviewed study. So just know it's extremely rigorous, and only really quality research gets published, depending upon the type of journal. So after that, it gets sent out to the experts read it, and it usually goes back and forth between the expert reviewers and the authors 2 to 3 times, sometimes 4, to determine whether or not it's worthy. Even after 4, passes back and forth, they can simply say at the end, it's not good enough, we're going to reject it. So that's the peer-reviewed process. And I'm saying it, and I don't want to spend much more time than this right now, and just knowing that what Isagenix has, it has a mound of this type of third-party, independent research in peer-reviewed science journals. And I might say in very high-impact science journals. And what that means is the standing and the reputation and the validity and credibility of the research is of the highest level. And I would just say that Isagenix has that rock-solid foundation of peer-reviewed research. And not a lot of other health and wellness organizations, institutions, and companies can say that. And so that's one thing right off the bat to have everybody on this call, because it's a smokescreen what a lot of other companies are doing, unfortunately, and it's misleading. And so I'm not to say, you don't need to all become science geeks at all. You have, you can pay very little attention to the science for that matter, really. You just should have the confidence and the evidence, that's the scientific objective evidence that the company has done its due diligence and has those groundbreaking, high impact, peer-reviewed scientific studies. And guess what? You'll immediately eliminate probably 90 to 95% of the other companies out there. And guess what? You can put a big green check mark near Isagenix, because they have more than I'm aware of than any other company. And that should give you a heaping serving of confidence, knowing that you're starting from a place of integrity and scientific credibility.